Chapter 16. Samson went to Gaza and saw a prostitute. He went to her. The news got around. Samson's here. They gathered around in hiding, waiting all night for him at the city gate, quiet as mice, thinking, at sunrise, we'll kill him. Samson was in bed with the woman until midnight. Then he got up, seized the doors of the city gate and the 2 gateposts, bolts and all, hefted them on his shoulder, and carried them to the top of the hill that faces Hebron. Sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek, grapes. Her name was Delilah. The Philistine tyrants approached her and said, "Seduce him. Discover what's behind his great strength and how we can tie him up and humble him. Each man's company will give you 100 shekels of silver." So Delilah said to Samson, "Tell me, dear, the secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and humbled." Samson told her, "If they were to tie me up with 7 bowstrings, the kind made from fresh animal tendons, not dried out, then I would become weak, just like anyone else." The Philistine tyrants brought her 7 bowstrings, not dried out, and she tied him up with them. The men were waiting in ambush in her room. Then she said, "The Philistines are on you, Samson." He snapped the cords as though they were mere threads. The secret of his strength was still a secret. Delilah said, "Come now, Samson, you're playing with me, making up stories. Be serious. Tell me how you can be tied up." He told her, "If you were to tie me up tight with new ropes, ropes never used for work, then I would be helpless, just like anybody else." So Delilah got some new ropes and tied him up. She said, "The Philistines are on you, Samson." The men were hidden in the next room. He snapped the ropes from his arms like threads. Delilah said to Samson, "You're still playing games with me, teasing me with lies. Tell me how you can be tied up." He said to her, "If you wove the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric on the loom and drew it tight, then I would be as helpless as any other mortal." When she had him fast asleep, Delilah took the 7 braids of his hair and wove them into the fabric on the loom and drew it tight. Then she said, "The Philistines are on you, Samson." He woke from his sleep and ripped loose from both the loom and fabric. She said, "How can you say I love you when you won't even trust me? 3 times now you've toyed with me like a cat with a mouse, refusing to tell me the secret of your great strength." She kept at it day after day, nagging and tormenting him. Finally, he was fed up. He couldn't take another minute of it. He spilled it. He told her, "A razor has never touched my head. I've been God's Nazarite from conception. If I were shaved, my strength would leave me. I would be as helpless as any other mortal." When Delilah realized that he had told her his secret, she sent for the Philistine tyrants, telling them, "Come quickly, this time he's told me the truth." They came, bringing the bribe money. When she got him to sleep, his head on her lap, she motioned to a man to cut off the 7 braids of his hair. Immediately, he began to grow weak. His strength drained from him. Then she said, "The Philistines are on you, Samson." He woke up thinking, "I'll go out like always and shake free." He didn't realize that God had abandoned him. The Philistines grabbed him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza. They shackled him in irons and put him to the work of grinding in the prison. But his hair, though cut off, began to grow again. The Philistine tyrants got together to offer a great sacrifice to their god, Dagon. They celebrated, saying, "Our God has given us Samson, our enemy." And when the people saw him, they joined in, cheering their God. "Our God has given our enemy to us, the one who ravaged our country, piling high the corpses among us." Then this. Everyone was feeling high, and someone said, "Get Samson. Let him show us his stuff." They got Samson from the prison, and he put on a show for them. They had him standing between the pillars. Samson said to the young man who was acting as his guide, "Put me where I can touch the pillars that hold up the temple, so I can rest against them." The building was packed with men and women, including all the Philistine tyrants, and there were at least 3,000 in the stands watching Samson's performance. And Samson cried out to God, "Master, God, oh please, look on me again. Oh please, give strength yet once more. God, with one avenging blow, let me be avenged on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Then Samson reached out to the two central pillars that held up the building and pushed against them, one with his right arm, the other with his left, saying, "Let me die with the Philistines." Samson pushed hard with all his might. The building crashed on the tyrants and all the people in it. He killed more people in his death than he had killed in his life. His brothers and all his relatives went down to get the body. They carried him back and buried him in the tomb of Manoah, his father, between Zorah and Eshtaol. He judged Israel for 20 years. Chapter 17. Micah. There was a man from the hill country of Ephraim named Micah. He said to his mother, "Remember that 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you? I overheard you when you pronounced your curse. Well, I have the money. I stole it, but now I brought it back to you." His mother said, "God bless you, my son." As he returned the 1,100 silver pieces to his mother, she said, "I had totally consecrated this money to God for my son to make a statue, a cast god." Then she took 200 pieces of the silver and gave it to a sculptor, and he cast them into the form of a god. This man, Micah, had a private chapel. He had made an ephod and some teraphim idols and had ordained one of his sons to be his priest. In those days, there was no king in Israel. People did whatever they felt like doing. Meanwhile, there was a young man from Bethlehem in Judah and from a family of Judah. He was a Levite, but was a stranger there. He left that town, Bethlehem in Judah, seeking his fortune. He got as far as the hill country of Ephraim and showed up at Micah's house. Micah asked him, "So where are you from?" He said, "I'm a Levite from Bethlehem in Judah. I'm on the road, looking for a place to settle down." Micah said, "Stay here with me. Be my father and priest. I'll pay you 10 pieces of silver a year, whatever clothes you need, and your meals." The Levite agreed and moved in with Micah. The young man fit right in and became one of the family. Micah appointed the young Levite as his priest. This all took place in Micah's home. Micah said, "Now I know that God will make things go well for me. Why, I've got a Levite for a priest." Chapter 18. In those days, there was no king in Israel. But also in those days, the tribe of Dan was looking for a place to settle down. They hadn't yet occupied their plot among the tribes of Israel. The Danites sent out 5 robust warriors from Zorah and Eshtaol to look over the land and see what was out there suitable for their families. They said, "Go and explore the land." They went into the hill country of Ephraim and got as far as the house of Micah. They camped there for the night. As they neared Micah's house, they recognized the voice of the young Levite. They went over and said to him, "How on earth did you get here? What's going on? What are you doing here?" He said, "One thing led to another. Micah hired me, and I'm now his priest." They said, "Oh, good. Inquire of God for us. Find out whether our mission will be a success." The priest said, "Go assured. God's looking out for you all the way." The 5 men left and headed north to Laish. They saw that the people there were living in safety under the umbrella of the Sidonians, quiet and unsuspecting. They had everything going for them. But the people lived a long way from the Sidonians to the west and had no treaty with the Arameans to the east. When they got back to Zorah and Eshtaol, their brothers asked, "So, how did you find things?" They said, "Let's go for it. Let's attack. We've seen the land and it is excellent. Are you going to just sit on your hands? Don't dawdle. Invade and conquer. When you get there, you'll find they're sitting ducks, totally unsuspecting. Wide open land. God is handing it over to you. Everything you could ever ask for." So 600 Danite men set out from Zorah and Eshtaol, armed to the teeth. Along the way, they made camp at Kiriath-Jearim in Judah. That is why the place is still today called Dan's Camp. It's just west of Kiriath-Jearim. From there, they proceeded into the hill country of Ephraim and came to Micah's house. The 5 men who earlier had explored the country of Laish told their companions, "Did you know there's an ephod, teraphim idols, and a cast god sculpture in these buildings? What do you think? Do you want to do something about it?" So they turned off the road there, went to the house of the young Levite at Micah's place and asked how things had been with him. The 600 Danites, all well armed, stood guard at the entrance to the gate, while the 5 scouts who had gone to explore the land went in and took the carved idol, the ephod, the teraphim idols, and the God sculpture. The priest was standing at the gate entrance with the 600 armed men. When the 5 went into Micah's house and took the carved idol, the ephod, the teraphim idols, and the sculpted God, the priest said to them, "What do you think you're doing?" They said to him, "Hush, don't make a sound. Come with us. Be our father and priest. Which is more important, that you become a priest to one man, or that you become priest to a whole tribe and clan in Israel?" The priest jumped at the chance. He took the ephod, the teraphim idols, and the idol, and fell in with the troops. They turned away and set out, putting the children, the cattle, and the gear in the lead. They were well on their way from Micah's house before Micah and his neighbors got organized. But they soon overtook the Danites. They shouted at them. The Danites turned around and said, "So what's all the noise about?" Micah said, "You took my God, the one I made, and you took my priest, and you marched off. What do I have left? How can you now say, 'What's the matter?'" But the Danites answered, "Don't yell at us. You just might provoke some fierce, hot-tempered men to attack you, and you'll end up an army of dead men." The Danites went on their way. Micah saw that he didn't stand a chance against their arms. He turned back and went home. So they took the things that Micah had made, along with his priest, and they arrived at Laish, that city of quiet and unsuspecting people. They massacred the people and burned down the city. There was no one around to help. They were a long way from Sidon and had no treaty with the Arameans. Laish was in the valley of Beth Rehob. When they rebuilt the city, they renamed it Dan after their ancestor, who was a son of Israel, but its original name was Laish. The Danites set up the God figure for themselves. Jonathan, son of Gershom, the son of Moses, and his descendants were priests to the tribe of Dan down to the time of the land's captivity. All during the time that there was a sanctuary of God in Shiloh, they kept for their private use the God figure that Micah had made. Chapter 19. The Levite. It was an era when there was no king in Israel. A Levite, living as a stranger in the backwoods hill country of Ephraim, got himself a concubine, a woman from Bethlehem in Judah. But she quarreled with him and left, returning to her father's house in Bethlehem in Judah. She was there 4 months. Then her husband decided to go after her and try to win her back. He had a servant and a pair of donkeys with him. When he arrived at her father's house, the girl's father saw him, welcomed him, and made him feel at home. His father-in-law, the girl's father, pressed him to stay. He stayed with him 3 days. They feasted and drank and slept. On the 4th day, they got up at the crack of dawn and got ready to go. But the girl's father said to his son-in-law, "Strengthen yourself with a hearty breakfast, and then you can go." So they sat down and ate breakfast together. The girl's father said to the man, "Come now, be my guest. Stay the night. Make it a holiday." The man got up to go, but his father-in-law kept after him, so he ended up spending another night. On the 5th day, he was again up early, ready to go. The girl's father said, "You need some breakfast." They went back and forth, and the day slipped on as they ate and drank together. But the man and his concubine were finally ready to go. Then his father-in-law, the girl's father, said, "Look, the day's almost gone. Why not stay the night? There's very little daylight left. Stay another night and enjoy yourself. Tomorrow you can get an early start and set off for your own place." But this time, the man wasn't willing to spend another night. He got things ready, left, and went as far as Jebus, Jerusalem, with his pair of saddled donkeys, his concubine, and his servant. At Jebus, though, the day was nearly gone. The servant said to his master, "It's late. Let's go into this Jebusite city and spend the night." But his master said, "We're not going into any city of foreigners. We'll go on to Gibeah." He directed his servant, "Keep going. Let's go on ahead. We'll spend the night either at Gibeah or Ramah." So they kept going. As they pressed on, the sun finally left them in the vicinity of Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. They left the road there to spend the night at Gibeah. The Levite went and sat down in the town square, but no one invited them in to spend the night. Then, late in the evening, an old man came in from his day's work in the fields. He was from the hill country of Ephraim and lived temporarily in Gibeah, where all the local citizens were Benjaminites. When the old man looked up and saw the traveler in the town square, he said, "Where are you going and where are you from?" The Levite said, "We're just passing through. We're coming from Bethlehem on our way to a remote spot in the hills of Ephraim. I come from there. I've just made a trip to Bethlehem in Judah, and I'm on my way back home. But no one has invited us in for the night. It wouldn't be any trouble. We have food and straw for the donkeys and bread and wine for the woman, the young man, and me. We don't need anything." The old man said, "It's going to be all right. I'll take care of you. You aren't going to spend the night in the town square." He took them home and fed the donkeys. They washed up and sat down to a good meal. They were relaxed and enjoying themselves when the men of the city, a gang of local hell-raisers all, surrounded the house and started pounding on the door. They yelled for the owner of the house, the old man. "Bring out the man who came to your house. We want to have sex with him." He went out and told them, "No, brothers, don't be obscene. This man is my guest. Don't commit this outrage. Look, my virgin daughter and his concubine are here. I'll bring them out for you. Abuse them if you must, but don't do anything so senselessly vile to this man." But the men wouldn't listen to him. Finally, the Levite pushed his concubine out the door to them. They raped her repeatedly all night long. Just before dawn, they let her go. The woman came back and fell at the door of the house where her master was sleeping. When the sun rose, there she was. It was morning. Her master got up and opened the door to continue his journey. There she was, his concubine, crumpled in a heap at the door, her hands on the threshold. "Get up," he said. "Let's get going." There was no answer. He lifted her onto his donkey and set out for home. When he got home, he took a knife and dismembered his concubine, cut her into 12 pieces. He sent her, piece by piece, throughout the country of Israel. And he ordered the men he sent out, "Say to every man in Israel, has such a thing as this ever happened from the time the Israelites came up from the land of Egypt until now? Think about it. Talk it over. Do something."